So here we have a load cell that was designed to measure shear. It's machined as one piece from a piece of aluminium, and the loading holes are positioned at the end of the load cell, and it's intended to be held like so and loaded at this point here. What that does is it puts the load cell into bending, but what you will notice is that we have machined out two pockets on either side of the neutral axis, leaving a thin web of material. So when we load this at this end, what will happen to that material? It will go into what we call shear, which is to do that. We're going to make the web do that. When we do that, we can use a strain gauge which can take advantage of that. And this gauge, in this case, this is a typical example. It doesn't have to be this one. This is a measurements group, a micro measurements group S5095 advanced sensor strain gauge, and it's being used here to be bonded to this web on both sides. So we have a shear pattern here which is at 45 degrees. Each individual one is at 45 degrees and at 90 degrees to each other. And one of those will be placed on one side of the web and another mirrored on the other side of the web. And the two, through this hole which has been created here, we pass the wires obviously to join the two of those gauges together to make a full Wheatstone bridge. And what will happen is when we put these into shear, again, I'll put this down for a moment. This gauge will go into negative, and this one will go into positive while it is being pulled at 45 degrees to the neutral axis. To achieve this, we have to, once we have milled the surface, actually abrade the surface to get a condition something around, well, about 23 microns. Effectively, RMS surface finish is good enough for a transducer. So that's what will have happened there. It'll either be done by hand, or it will be done, if these were made in large bulk or batches, we would have to then use an aerobrade system, which would use 23 micron aluminium oxide powder. And that would bombard the surface with those small particles, giving a very nice clean matte finish. You would then degrease the surface again or neutralize the surface again by using either an ultrasonic cleaning bath to get rid of the particles that were used in abrasion, or if you did it by hand, you would use silicon carbide paper, 400 grit, using phosphoric acid, and then neutralize the surface to give you a pH of around 7.5 on the pH scale, which is about perfect for most adhesives. We would then pick up the strain gauge on a piece of tape, mylar tape usually, because with a transducer we usually use a heat cure system. And with a heat core system, you need a tape which can stand up to the heat. I haven't got any mylar tape here to show you at the moment, but if you can imagine a piece of cellophane tape, we would pick up the strain gauge from the surface. It would then appear on the back of the tape, and we would position it onto the web using the tape system. And we do the same on the other side and put another strain gauge mirrored exactly of the one that's we just put on. So we have two strain gauges on there now, 4 elements altogether, and we can wire those through the hole to make a full Wheatstone bridge in shear. Once that is done, the cable will be connected via a terminal pad, which would be located somewhere in here, which would have 4 tabs on it, perhaps 5 if you're going to do temperature compensation. And the lead wire will be run down through here, through here, and would come out here through a gland where the cable for the transducer would go off to the instrument. And when we put this into a calibration rig, of course, bolted firmly through these 2 bolting holes, and then the load would be applied here. The gauges which are on the shear web would be put into shear, and the cable which is fed into an instrument, which could be a micro measurements P3 or one of our systems, System 7000, perhaps even something as simple as a DAC or one of our D4, Model D4 instruments. All of those are quite capable of measuring. This is a full bridge after all. We don't need any completion circuitry, so it can be fed into fairly simple amplification. Once it's calibrated, this then can be put into service with a known graph or an actual set of figures which can give you the details as to what the actual output from this load cell is. Typically, if we work around 1,000 microstrain on the shear webs, then we should get around 2 millivolts per volt output from the load cell.